problems over here, Jim.
Gotcha.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I got you loud and clear. Yeah, so man, you said you was in Big Nick's neck of
Neck
the
of the
woods.
woods.
So was yeah, you could have went out. You probably could have went out on one of his journeys with him if you'd have told him you was
Yeah,
coming.
yeah,
Been on his
yeah, yeah.
channel, Sesame 12.
I didn't have time for that, but
Yeah,
it was the wife's
yeah,
birthday. But it
that's
was a good
big of
time, man. Weather was good. Weather was good, so everything was good. But yeah, the only thing I really got to shout out
Hey,
is our tournament season, man, and it's getting exciting. It's getting exciting. We got one state chip, going for two more, and you know, I got all my faith in these kids. Let's go West.
I got all the faith the kid to bring it home. And the important thing is, man, that they're gonna play JRW style, basketball, man. I mean, baseball that's been in the culture and ingrained in the culture, passed down from, those kids that swung that bat and threw that baseball years before they even, stepped foot on a diamond.
Yeah, yeah. 50th year, baby. Helping kids in the community.
Abs- Absolutely. So, bro, where I was just doing a short history uh, of MJ. You could fill in anything you want to fill in. I mean, we're at this point of when he got to North Carolina playing
Okay.
for Dean Smith.
And the system.
Yeah, yeah. Remember, Dean used to do the wholesale changes.
Four corners. Take out the whole team. Yeah. Yeah. You had to
Yeah,
play in the system. You weren't gonna play.
you had to play in the system, or you weren't going to play. But Dean made sure you were fundamentally sound, and you were going to also bust your keister on the defensive end as well, bro.
Absolutely. Well, that was a emphasis back in, our era, or Jordan's era of basketball, that you got out there and made it happen on defense, and it made the offense a lot easier. Because you're getting steals, you're getting easy buckets, and then when it got down to the nitty gritty time of hitting those tough buckets, usually the other team was pretty either tired, or you had worn them down to the point where they were thinking mentally about everything you were doing. So it made your defense that much more effective. So yeah, it's
Facts. And
all
Dean had a great staff, and he was one of the first coaches. It made it necessary, paramount, indicative that the top dog in the system bought in.
right. And
You know what I mean?
yeah, and I think that extended into during his professional career, when he finally got with a coach that he
Correct.
understood the vibe with, that he bought in, and everybody else had to buy in for them to get to their goal of NBA championship.
Well, we're gonna stay on topic because this isn't a Jordan Pamper party, but
Well,
we
I
are giving
understand
we
that.
are giving but we are giving a history. So
Right.
you know,
You know,
so he hit the shot, right? He hit the shot. That was his what, sophomore year? Yeah, because he came out after his junior year.
freshman.
So
I think it was his freshman year.
his freshman year he hit the shot.
Freshman
You're
year, he
right,
hit the shot.
and he
Yeah.
was All American his sophomore and his junior year.
Right.
I believe Player of the Year one of those 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Olympics MVP, gold medal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
He didn't he didn't
I'm
put his fist,
biased.
but he didn't put his fist up or near his head or kneel um, during those ceremonies.
Well, that never was his modus operandi. Whether it was
Well,
fighting.
well, well. I heard Isaiah Thomas, the first one, the one who was from Chicago, the
Mhm.
one who was snubbing Michael Jordan allegedly on the All Star game when Jordan was a rookie.
Yeah.
I heard him saying historically in the NBA it was tantamount for the best player, who he doesn't even agree. Talking out both sides of his neck, he don't even say Jordan was the best player that he played against. But he's
Right.
saying that he doesn't give Jordan the GOAT moniker because Jordan wasn't doing enough social justice type things. You know what I'm saying? And that's why he gives it to, you know, LeBron. But at the same time, he'll still say that Jordan wasn't the best player. I just think it's disingenuous for a person of his caliber, even if you're the second, third, fourth, fifth best player. I don't care if you're the 100th best player in the NBA. If you're
Right.
African American, you should be down for social justice.
Right.
You got a platform either way.
Yeah. And he had it. Well, I mean, all of them, especially the superstars of each team, had a platform. But it's a matter of how you're brought up and what your mental status was then. His mental status was selling, making money.
Okay, but
So
okay, well we pushed past that. The Olympics, and at that Olympics, um, there was some hubbub about Bobby Knight wanting to cut Michael Jordan, and Bobby Knight stamped that rumor out. Um, so then he got drafted by our Bulls,
yeah,
right? Elijah was drafted
he left.
first, and then that was Houston, and then Sam Bowie came out to Portland.
Yeah, luckily Portland took Sam Bowie, or the Bulls would have took him.
Yeah,
No matter where Jordan was picking. If Jordan would have failed to him, they probably would have picked Sam Bowie
well,
third,
before
and
Jordan, the
Jordan.
analytics in the game was saying that you had to have a big if you're going to win. You had to have a dominant big. You remember?
Yeah,
That was the
yeah,
analytics.
that was a game back then. You had to have this big
Had
lane
to,
stuffer.
had to, and
Every,
everybody had to wait for him to come down court.
well, I mean,
Big,
every defense was predicated on sending the littles to the big, so the big could block their shot. You know.
I tell you like this: if I had Elijah and the other guys shooting on the fast breaks weren't high caliber players,
Mhm.
you know, you can shoot before that big gets down there, but if you miss, you got some laps. You know what I
Right,
mean? I'm not going to encourage you to wait for the big, but
right.
I'm saying, right, right,
Either
right,
one
right.
or two things going to happen. You're going to start hitting that shot, or you're going to be out of the game. So,
Or you're going to start waiting for that big.
or you're going to wait for the big, right? Right.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Now, like I said, I don't need Magic Johnson or Kobe or Jordan or Russ Kobe. So, I don't need certain caliber players, waiting for that big. I don't.
Right.
Right. But you know what I'm talking about. The Joe Dumases. You
Yeah,
better
just
wait
gonna,
for that. Yeah.
yeah, just gonna get back on defense, and we're gonna take care of it.
Right. Wait for the big. All right. But I digressed. So, yeah. So then our Bulls lucked up um, and got Jordan. And then he just started tearing through the NBA. I mean, rookie of the year, winning dunk contest, Donald's affiliation,
Yeah,
Nike.
like
Man,
his to his not to his detriment, but to his he didn't want to go with Nike. He was
yeah, he wanted to go with Adidas because that's what all the everybody's wearing in the hood pretty much, and in the
right,
community. I mean, and remember Dr. J and all those other people, it was all about Adidas, and Adidas snubbed them.
Converse.
Was it
Dr. J wore
Converse?
yeah, Dr. J wore Cons and
Yeah.
Magic and Bird. They were all Converse.
Is that where you wanted to go with
Yeah,
Converse?
I believe North Carolina
Okay, okay.
wore
Uh,
Converse. He might have wanted to go with Adidas, but I know the major stars in the NBA were
it definitely
wearing
wasn't
Converse
Nike.
because Nike was a running shoe company.
Correct,
Uh,
correct. That they were stealing the whole thing from some Japan company.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah. It's a whole nother show.
that's a
But
whole nother. But
yeah, so money
that's
started running through the league. He scored what? Was it 63 in the playoffs against one of the greatest teams ever assembled?
yeah. Well, they had BJ and DJ at the guard, and they had Danny Ainge. So, who did they have?
Larry Legend, Kevin McHale. They had about 4 Hall of Famers though.
Yeah, but they had nobody to match up with it.
Correct.
They
But
could
the
hack him.
fact that, you know, Jordan got his 63 on the road
Yeah,
against a quality team, against
yeah,
veterans
yeah.
who believed in defense.
Hall of Fame,
When
bro.
you weigh that against every Tom, Dick, and Harry scoring 60 in a league where people don't play defense and there is no big and they're playing against bums and
Can't
they
touch
try
him.
to weigh that, you know, they weigh that, and I'm like, no, no.
It's, to- it's
The
totally
reason,
asinine.
right, the reason that meant so much, it would be like a 8 seed rookie in today's game playing against the Lakers and scoring like 79.
Right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Or you could
Yeah,
put it in comparison to, some unknown coming out against the Dream Team and scoring 80 points.
correct.
And it was
Yeah,
unheard of because
yeah,
he was the only option.
yeah. And Boston, they weren't known for horrible D.
He was the only option. I mean, they had Hall of Fame players and a Hall of Fame coach. So
And remember, DJ had turned into Dennis Johnson had turned himself into a defensive. He was supposed to have been he was a Jordan stopper before that existed.
yeah,
Him and Ainge were supposed to be Jordan stoppers.
yeah. I mean, I know he was licking his chops when he got Danny.
So he did that, and he put the league on notice. And I think he had that foot injury.
Mm-hmm. Broke his
Yeah,
foot and came back
yeah.
in the playoffs and find something ridiculous. If he
Then I
broke his
think the next year averaged like 37 points a game because he was working so hard to get back.
yeah,
And when they say, yeah, you work hard enough, you can come back and be better. He came back and was, whoa,
yeah, and I sure you can.
man.
But
Remember, Ace? He was working in the swimming pools. They used to show him on the news. Jordan just hooping at a basketball. He was in the swimming pool. I think when he got out that water, he was like, whoa. I think, boy, if I had a basketball camp, them kids would be hooping in the water the whole camp.
all right, it definitely helps your leg strength.
Man, man. So, all right, but we got to get into the hate. Where'd the wonton hate come from? Now, one thing I want to say before we jump into this though is, they used to ask Jordan if he thought he was the best, and Jordan would always answer that by saying, um, Jordan would always answer that by saying, that's for the people to decide. So he would never, even himself say that, he was the best as far as of all time.
Right. I mean,
Yeah,
it's what anybody in that realm of possibility should be answering. That how can I deem myself the best of all time when I'm playing? When I've seen a certain era of players ahead of me that I know are great,
correct,
and I know I'm doing my thing right now, and who knows? All records were meant to be broken. So how can you, as an athlete, say you're the
go
greatest of all time while you're playing?
correct. And while time is still ticking.
Right.
So
Exactly.
that's a misnomer right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
right. Well. So now, where do you think? So he went off as a businessman. Well, we skipped a lot. He swung at baseballs. His father was murdered. Rest his soul. He swung at baseballs. Had a gambling scandal.
That's one of the
You
periods.
remember much about that, Ace? The gambling scandal?
I mean, hey, they say it's not tricking if you got it. So like,
Yeah, but you remember he was with Pimp McFarlane or something. It was a Scooter
yeah,
Pimp. They used to be
it
at
was he was with
those guys,
nefarious characters. So they
the CIA informant plant with that allegedly.
allegedly. So yeah, I mean, any any person with a lot of money is going to have a nefarious character somewhere in their portfolio. Ask the president, the former president, or the current president too. Anybody that has a certain amount of millions and fame, there's going to be somebody you could be photographed with, might be quote unquote not the best person in the world.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess that they had this apple pie, image of him, which we knew wasn't true. Anybody, I mean, we knew. People in Chicago knew, but they had that image of him, and
As a,
I guess he'd be out partying and doing what most young men were doing.
yeah, as a we had a human image of him, and he had this non-human sports marketing image that he had,
Expectation, yeah.
right, that he had to maintain his entire life. Yeah,
Right?
it's impossible.
I know he'd be like, man, people, I'm 60 years old or whatever. Right? That's why
Yeah.
they were trying to ask him to do that Disney movie. He's like, oh God, no. What's the one?
uh,
The basketball one.
Jam to space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Space Jams. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So yeah, so like, all right, so he did become a great, business person. Made all the right moves there. There was that divorce um with his wife, but I mean, hell, that happens in America.
Yeah,
So
50% of the
uh,
time.
yeah, if not more, especially in our community.
Right.
Um, and I think if you're rich, you're more likely to get divorced because the person with less money saying, "Listen, you know what I mean. It's better off if I leave this person."
Right. I can do everything I wanted to do that I say he won't let me do, and I can go
Right.
do it.
Correct. Correct. With someone else that I don't have to have him let me do it. Correct.
Right,
Correct. So
right,
yeah,
right.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that's how that works. But no, no. So now before we jump into the hate, because I'm gonna list some hate. We're gonna list some haters. Um, this week though, Ace, all right, you had the NBA Finals. You got any comments on that? I didn't watch it.
I didn't see the last two games myself either. I was enjoying life, so I had no reason to watch the NBA final. My son, after the Bucks went down 0-2, Deuce said Bucks in six, and lo and behold, while I was in Miami, he calls me and was like, "I told you, Bucks in six." So that's about as much as I know about the NBA finals.
Yeah, I mean, what made Deuce say that?
Um, Anytime someone goes up, he's always with the underdog for some reason. But he likes Giannis Tetetokounmpo. He likes the Greek freak. So he wanted him to win a ship. So, yeah.
Well, the Greek freak never. He reminds me. His mentality reminds me a lot of. He's an African version of Michael Jordan, if you will. He
Yeah,
doesn't want to make friends. He wants to get that chip, and he's not satisfied with one chip.
right, right.
Right,
I
right.
don't I don't know how it's gonna be tough. You'll see
Well,
in the next coming years how tough those back to backs and repeats were with all the player movement for those things to take place.
man, and all the rich Paul agents, and yeah, baby, you just got you a final. You should be making $40 million a day.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
we're going
You
for the
can go
Supermax
play
summer.
for Nantucket. Yeah, go over there and play for the Nantucket Wickwallies, and they're gonna give you $40 million.
Really? It's all guaranteed, baby.
Yeah, and have the Nantucket Wickwallies reach out to me. By the way,
Yeah.
so so yeah, big up. So congrats to the Bucks, and then what's going on with your boy Richard Sherman, man? The Baphomet's been after him for quite some time,
Um, that is an interesting story. That is a very,
isn't
especially
it, man?
during the 911 call and the Karen on the other end that's supposed to be a dispatcher that's
Oh
supposed
my God.
to be aiding and assisting someone in distress.
Man, they swept that right under there, boy, didn't they? I was all in the comments every time I saw that. Like, is this what we're paying this Karen for? I know I would have cussed her out at some point.
Oh yeah, hung up against somebody else. I mean,
Right.
she might have called back, but I'd have been talking to somebody else by the time she called back. She was nuts.
Nuts.
Like, I need some assistance.
Well, what it is they're trained to treat people, minorities,
mm,
if they can detect certain people who may not have sophistication, right? So even the wife, the battered wife, right, or spouse, they're
allegedly.
they're training the operator to build a case against
Mm,
the husband.
really?
That's why she wanted to keep her talking and wanted to keep control of the call. And
Conversation.
that's why the wife didn't want to say certain things. And that's why she was getting mad because her little talk off wasn't going a certain way. Her little script wasn't going a certain
Yeah.
way. You know,
You
and
got
then because the wife was kept saying, he's got no gun, he's got a gun, but he doesn't have it on him and all that. Right, right. Don't come shoot him. I don't want you to
right,
shoot. Right.
right, because she knew, once they came and they saw what color he was, and then they saw his hair. The first thing was going to be, he's probably got a weapon. So
But
it's
that goes back to this is another story, but they need to have a resource officer that gets dispatched to something like that.
mm,
You know, I know they say those domestic cases are the worst, but well, back to this dude though, bro. I mean, Richard Sherman, you think it's CTE because he knows he talks about. He's been a player rep. He's not a rookie.
he's
Like
a
he's
Stanford
human.
he's a Stanford graduate.
Yeah, and he knows that the cameras was on.
Yeah. So I mean, the verbiage that the wife used during the call was that he had been drinking all day. So I mean, everybody has those
That's
instances
true.
in life that they, you just
Angry. He probably just took the jab. Probably just had the vax.
right, and he is going into training camp. He has no um, prospects on the horizon. He doesn't have a contract, and he's 33 years old. So yeah,
Hmm. I noticed, and then they be like, "Man, and this door is locked. That I paid millions of dollars for this house." Because that same thing happened to G Herbo too, man. I think that could piss you off too.
yeah. Along with the juice, yeah, joy juice that you had. So it was just it's a bad day and a bad time. And unfortunately, I believe she was calling the police to keep him from hurting himself more than
But this
hurting.
gets into those ring cameras.
Oh yeah,
See, this is why you couldn't pay me to have that.
yeah,
Because see now, do they have to ask the wife? So the wife can't be used in a court of law against the husband, although she's the alleged victim. But that's how the society, that's how the Constitution is written. She can't
right.
be forced to because they're one. But they can use the family's camera as
Yeah,
testimony.
they
That's
got
what.
surveillance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's because remember the ring camera is what was released. They
I,
got
I,
ring
haven't,
camera.
I haven't seen the video.
Oh
I,
yeah, look
I
it up
just
on
heard
YouTube.
I just heard the audio. But
Oh
yeah,
no,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. They got
yeah.
video. Let the door. He's like he's gonna break it down. Big football player. You know what I mean?
I'm sure one of the doors was open. He was just drunk. But my wife asked me, did I want one of those uh, video surveillance of our lives on the home, and I was like, for what? You know,
Yeah,
they say it's to watch people on the outside, but it's basically a surveillance of everything that you do. So
correct.
no
You
thank
you remember that case against Hernandez, rest his soul? You said
you.
you said you left your house at what time? But
Mhm.
your ring camera says you left at this time. You know what I mean? It's like
Right,
you know what I mean? It's like damn.
right.
Right. That seems anti-American to use my own shit against me.
Not if you sign up for it. I'm sure down in the verbiage of the agreement, you're giving up a whole bunch of your rights.
Yeah.
Not all of
They've had a whole little community on that now, bro, because law enforcement was just doing it. Then now Ring said now they have to get permission for certain things. It's just weird, man. But yeah, that's what I just wanted to cover. So yeah, since we don't have anybody with the cojones to step up with the Jordan hate, let's
Well,
just
all
try
these
to.
Jordan haters. I mean, all these conversations we have over the
Yeah,
years, and people chime in
yeah.
about Jordan and what he does and what he
They're just
doesn't do.
trolls. They're just trolls.
Yeah.
They're just trolls. They're just sitting down. You know what I mean? Eating a Twinkie. Trolling. But
Yeah.
bro, let's just do it.
Yeah.
What's that?
I wanted to get on the side of the conversation with them. If you had your particular reasons or conversations or questions about Jordan's character. I mean, I'm not saying he's a perfect human,
Perfect. Right. I'm not saying he's Jesus Christ.
but I'm biased because I was
Six
paying.
chips.
He got 6 chips, and I was paying to go see him. So
And if they only knew what the franchise was like before those six chips.
well, the NBA in particular. I mean,
Man.
that was part of the hate I had for the NBA after he got shuffled off to Washington, and then they kicked him out of town when they reneged on that hockey deal with him. Like
Well, what they do is when they can't
use you anymore.
use you as a tool. Yes, yes. Then they tear you down. Like Bill Cosby. Jordan probably had limits to what he was willing to do.
But he made the whole NBA a $1 billion industry. I mean, I can't believe these guys that are making $30 and $40 million a season now aren't still genuflecting in front of him. Like, because there's no way they would have got to that money without Michael Jeffrey Jordan busting out with $30 million contract in the '90s.
Well, can you think of some haters? Um, some Michael Jeffrey Jordan haters.
Where's Coach?
Who?
Where's Coach at? Are you talking about famous haters or
Yeah,
just
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, Coach is definitely on the list. Definitely on the list. But yeah, yeah. Known haters.
gotta
I'm
go?
gonna say, who you say?
Gotta go with his Isaiah.
Isaiah's definitely on the list. I'm gonna put Scottie Pippen on the list too.
I think there's something wrong with Scotty.
I think something's wrong with Scottie too. I really do. I really do. I think something has always been wrong with Scottie if you look back on it all. And if you
But
go back, if you go
it
back
probably goes back to
allegedly.
his belief that people start pumping into his head that Michael wouldn't have got the 6 championships
Mm-hmm.
without him,
Mm-hmm.
which is in a certain right true. But
Mike would have had another Scotty, so I don't want
yeah,
to hear it. That they pumped that into Horace Grant's head, and Horace Grant left, and Mike kept getting chips.
yeah,
If Horace
yeah.
Grant had stayed and Scotty left, they would have him and Phil would have
Yes,
plugged somebody else up in there to take that ride with
absolutely.
him. You know what
Scotty
I'm
would have.
saying?
Scotty
Correct.
went somewhere else and been average, just like Horace Grant.
Correct. Probably hurt his knee and yeah, and flooded off into a whole nother thing. Correct. Correct. He was benefiting from the system, and big ups to Scotty. But I'm throwing Scotty on the list, bro.
Okay.
I'm
Uh,
throwing Steve Kerr on the list. Isn't he the one say Jordan punched him in the face? Yeah, and he punched me in my face.
well, yeah, I don't think he was.
Yeah, and he punched me. Come on, bro. That's locker room talk.
I don't think he was taking offense to it. I think they were just priding him for the camera, and he had to come up with a story to make himself relevant in the last dance.
He punched me, and I stood up to him, and he never punched me again. You know, yeah. Somebody told him that his dad was the director of the CIA. Russ Steve Kerr's dad.
Yeah.
So that's what somebody told Mike. You want to come up missing? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
that was an interesting nugget there for Steve.
Yeah, it was. It was. But all right. Well, no, I'm throwing Steve on there because he ran around talking about his Golden State team would beat the Bulls, and he knew that was a damn lie. So I'm throwing him on there. He was a part of it. He's not going to be off this list. Steve
Uh,
Kerr.
who would have known Jordan stoppers during those days?
They normally give it up to him.
Yeah. You have a player like Gary Payton who got thrown on that list, but I mean, yeah, he knew what was up.
They'll say he's the GOAT. I'm not saying you got to like him, but you can
Yeah,
say he's the GOAT. You're not going to lay out some BS and start naming. Certain some players just get crazy. He don't even be on the top 10 list.
yeah, yeah. That's nuts.
Ryan, what's his name? Ryan Hollis. Ryan. He used to be on ESPN all the time. Yellow teeth,
Oh,
high yellow dude. He's just be trolling.
yeah.
He's just some of the worst takes. You got to look him up, man. He's played in the league, man, and he was horrible in the league as well. Even worse, they just let him like he used to be on first. I think Stephen A. and finally said, "Man, look, it's just you're just he's just like somebody's slow."
I know the guy's face. Yeah, I don't remember his
Yeah,
name.
they had him all over the radio just with these takes, these awful takes.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I mean, it's in certain regards there's social economic aspect of being a Jordan hater because everybody hates the richest person in the room, and it's easy to dissect the way that they got there, or you think they're getting there, or some of the things that he had, his brand has done to get there. Like after releasing shoes at certain times at certain places are going to cause robberies and maybe killings and things such as that to keep doing it. You know, but it's not Jordan's fault, but it's just a reflection of society that a pair of gym shoes would cause someone to go to a store with a gun and rob people, or with the wrong.
correct. How do you blame that on Michael Jordan?
Yeah,
I
it's
guarantee you, if Gucci released a belt every year that people went out and killed over,
yeah.
nobody would blame Gucci.
No, they would go to look at the stores and how to increase security or what they can do to change the situation. But it wouldn't be
Correct.
blamed on Gucci. Like it's just Gucci. Everybody wants Gucci. And
Correct. Correct.
same thing
Correct.
with Jordans.
Right. And I have reason to believe he's not the main money man behind those shoes.
No, but it's his brand. So they figure he's in charge of every aspect of the brand, as far as them being made in Indonesia or China, and those sweatshops, or as far as the marketing is concerned, as far as the releases is concerned. They think he's just sitting in his house like, man, what's going on this week? I think I'm
And
gonna
they
look.
had to attack the alpha black male. You
Well,
know, when I say, I mean, in Michael Jordan, he he wasn't, like, okay, there's this anti-bully movement, which I've always been a anti-bully. But there's this narrative that Jordan was a bully and things he did in the locker room, and man, and people always saying that, and I could tell they've never played a sport on any competitive level, and they'll talk about things that happen when you're competing, things that happen amongst teammates,
yeah.
and they'll talk about that like, and he should be locked up. You know what I mean? Like, are y'all serious? Like,
Well, any winning team, you got a leader that's going to do certain things that are required to lead the team. Some
correct,
people may agree with it, and some people don't. But it all comes down to the results. As long as he's not really hurting anybody, he's just, this is what
man.
you got to do to win.
And as long as he's the first one there,
Yeah.
and the last one to leave, that type of thing. So I know there was some stuff too, Ace. Let me see here about his. It's in the chat. Chat. Somebody tell me to drop the link in the chat. I should have just texted it to him. Let's see. Yeah. Well, what's this thing about the pocket watches, bro?
I don't know.
Um, But the Jordan pocket watchers, the ones that say, "Okay, I'm gonna drop it, bro. I see it ain't in here." The Jordan pocket watchers, bro. Um, when they say he's not doing this and that for the community.
Well, I mean, what is the community doing for the community? He's not the only black billionaire. He wasn't the first. He won't be the last. Um, change starts. Yeah, it does help to have money, but you got to have some political change. A vote. If the community is not being served by the people that are making the laws and directing your tax dollars, what is Michael Jordan going to do about that? Come speak to you? You got to vote. You got to vote them out. You got to make something happen. You got to make your own political stance, but he can't go into every community and affect change. Change got to come from within. So, his money can't change everything. That's all I'm saying. So,
I saw him in Oprah Winfrey interview. Was Oprah, and he was talking about charity, and he said that the way he was raised and the way he was brought up is that you do your charity, you don't talk about your charity. Um, and so, he's one of those I gave at the office type of dudes. And as you live life and you get older, I kind of started to understand, where he's coming from. Like I got people, outside the neighborhood store, they always got their hand out.
mm-hmm.
They talk well, they speak well, they're healthy. It's been years now. They're there with their hand out. You know, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
to the point, that's what Mike was saying. Like, these cats are hustling. But
yeah.
these are what up, bro? If you can just do a quick, let everybody know who you are, man. And then I know you had some stuff to say in the chat about Sherm, and I appreciate you stepping up, man.
I got a
Are
I
you
got a
a Jordan
double
hater or Jordan supporter?
I got a double echo. Why I got a double echo?
Oh,
I don't know.
are you watching it on YouTube? You might want to.
Hold on, yeah.
It's probably playing in the background on YouTube.
Let me close that out.
Cut the volume down. Yeah, close it or just cut the volume down. So you said Sherman was off that Sherm. He was high off something allegedly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, bro. Like it was some pills or something, man.
Yeah, no, I was being sarcastic, but
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah,
in terms of the Sherm, but he was on something, man. I had never
yeah.
seen him enraged like that, and you could tell that's why they probably called the police because they ain't want him to do
Yeah, it
nothing
looked like it was
crazy.
a bad trip. Like he got a hold of a bad pill or somebody slipped him something. Because even the way his wife was talking was, yeah, but we need, like I was telling Ace, man, we should be able to call armed, what do you call them? Armed social workers, bro. They armed, they train, they got the mace. All they really need is a good can of pepper spray and, and some tasers.
They actually, I think they said that her father had pepper sprayed him, had sprayed him.
That's what pissed them off.
Yeah, probably so. I know. I really think that he got
You get that
sprayed.
wrong mix, and sometimes that pepper spray, you military guy, it'll expire, and you spray. You bought it cheap from the swap meet. You know what I mean? And you spraying somebody, they just getting mad.
From the swap meet, huh?
Hey, but what you had for us, Smoke G, on this topic?
For Jordan, well, he's never been the criticism on him as far as what his contribution back to society for Black folks.
Mm-hmm.
He's always moved silent but deadly. He's never
Mm-hmm.
gotten credit because he's been silent when he moves, but he does move. I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
been doing stuff with his mama and that organization since he been in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Now, over the past about what I think the past like 5 years, he's put up, man. It's been, if I'm correct, I know he did like 100 million. Then he did like 200 and something million. He done put up almost $500 million over the past like five or 10 years. But he don't, because you don't see him vocally
Correct.
famous
Showing
stuff.
up and cutting the ribbons and all that. He don't do all that.
Yeah, he's
He
not
don't
one
put
of
his
them.
name. Everything don't be the Michael Jordan Foundation. Like he would give money to Jackie Robinson, and y'all should reach out to him, Ace. And he ain't gonna come there, and it ain't gonna have to be the Michael Jordan Foundation or the Jeffrey Jordan Foundation. He's gonna absolutely tell you he don't want nobody to know he had anything to do with it. And I
Yeah,
think that's a beautiful thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
He moves silent. You know who else moves silent? And he doesn't get, I mean, he gets some credit for it. And I know we talking about Mike, but just because we're on this subject of giving back. But he just does things. He probably does charitable stuff too. But if you ever hear about what Shaq does just when he's out and about in the general public, the type of stuff he gives back to people,
Man, he
it's
be giving
like
out
incredible.
$10,000 tips. Yeah,
Man,
yeah, but you're
man,
right. You're right. You're right. You're
I
right.
heard a story about him. I don't know if this is true, but this is the first time I'd ever heard something about Shaq. This was years ago. And I heard that it was a game in LA. It was after the game. Like everybody was gone. Almost everybody was gone. And it was a dude in a light. I think it was a black dude too. And his car wouldn't start. He was trying to get it started, it wouldn't start. And he took him to the dealership, bought that man a brand new car, paid for it,
Right.
everything, just on
Jay.
GP.
I've been shaking him, Jay, in the car. I haven't been shaking him, Jay, in the car. I'm telling you, shaking him, Jay was doing better.
Put it
Kobe,
on his American
Kobe,
Express. Got some
Jay,
points.
I tell you, got that car.
But I've
Look him
been
up,
hearing
man.
stories like that about him, man, for the longest. And sometimes they catch him where it's like public and people get wind of it. And he don't really do it, like he don't be doing it for that. But if they catch wind of it, so be it. He's like, hey, he just, what was that dude? He just paid for his paid his engagement ring off. He was
Oh
at
yeah, when he was at the jewelry store. Yeah.
yeah, the dude was in there making the payment on his ring. He paid
Man,
it off.
hey, look, if y'all out there and I'm in a jewelry store, I'm gonna tell the guy, look, put that ring back there, go Shaq. Grab the expensive one. Grab the expensive one. Tell him it costs 3 times as much, man. You're gonna split the overage. No, I would never do that. But big ups to Shaq. Let's get back on topic, man. Let's get back on topic. All right, all right. But okay, I'm gonna ask y'all this then. So we were going over some MJ haters, bro. Can you think of some notorious MJ haters? I'm gonna say Big Nick, South Florida. Big Nick, South Florida. I'm gonna throw him on there. He's got almost 300,000 subscribers.
You mean just general public, like people who
Mainly, yeah,
enjoy?
known, yeah, influencers. Mainly, yeah, yeah. We did name a couple of guys, that we just knew, but we don't want to do them like that if they're not gonna come up here. But MJ haters. I thought Kobe, rest his soul. All these years, I thought Kobe was a hater because I thought he was sneak dissing Mike, because he used to always praise Pippen and say he patterned everything off of Pippen, and all he ever talked about was it was
Oh
Pippen
no,
this and
see,
Pippen that.
he's fronting. He was fronting
He was
because
front.
all he
Please, y'all
did.
talk about this, please, because I try to tell these
No,
LA people
he's
this and
fronting.
they
He
get
was
tired. Go
fronting.
ahead,
He was
talk about
fronting.
that.
He All he did was watch "Come Fly with Me" when he was in high, over and over.
And like Mike
He said
commercials.
it. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was like, I kept watching it over and over and over, trying to mimic his style of play. He kept watching that. And then if you listen to what Mike could tell you, like how he would call him and all of this stuff, and
hmm
man, he envied him. And I guess you probably, because you envied him so much and portrayed your game after him so much. The only difference I think was I think Mike was a better, if you compare the two all together, if you can believe this, Mike was more unselfish than Kobe was. I felt Kobe wanted the
yes.
gun
Kobe
more
was,
than Mike.
yes, we can
Any
believe it. Come on,
any
yes.
day, any
Mike's
day.
shooting percentage was better. He was more efficient. He didn't shoot as many air balls and bricks.
Yeah,
but you
and
can't take away from Kobe's work ethic. So
oh no, I'm not
No,
not his
no, you
work
can't.
ethic. His work ethic is right there, which he
With Mike,
patterned after
yeah,
Mike. A
yeah,
lot of them people took the
yeah.
work ethic
And
of
his desire to win.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He now work ethic is different, but
yeah,
as far as his game itself, yeah, he took he was
everything.
patterning everything he could after the difference. Now, Mike was more athletic. He was more athletic than he was. It was close, but he wasn't as athletic as
Mike
Mike
respected the
was.
game because Mike learned the game in America where somebody could pull out a knife or a gun and pistol whip you, and the old heads and the OGs would teach you a certain respect. Kobe
And
learned the game over there in Italy where he could run around and do what he wanted, say what he wanted, and act like he won. And this
and
is what happened.
one of the few things that one of the few things that Stephen A says that I don't use a lot of stuff he says, but one of the few things he does say that sticks is the era that you played in holds a lot of weight. It really matters. And that era that Mike was playing in, the
Yeah,
physicality, for you to survive
man,
that,
man. And the
and
talent.
yeah, because that era, it's hard to because you can't take away from a person can't help when they're born and when they play,
But it was more
but
veteran heavy. So
and
because they wasn't
physical.
run up and down the court, it was veteran heavy. So it was skill. Somebody would come off the bench, had been in the league 12 years, and just do what they do. They
Oh
had
my
one
God,
move.
it's like the way the players were bred.
They get that off, come off the bench and get that off.
If you look
Yeah.
at these injuries the past year or so, or a couple of years, or how these players get hurt, and I almost equivalent to a horse race because I love horse racing. But you can look at horses that raced in the '80s and look at them now. They'll run as for the Derby or whatever, and that's 3-year-old horses, right? And then that'll be the end of their career if they win one of those races. They don't run no more.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah,
like,
they
well,
got
what the hell?
studs.
They ain't bred like they used to be. The
Yeah,
basketball players back then, they were bred. You could survive all of that, and you didn't have players missing all these games, catching little nagging injuries, ankles, feet, uh,
mhm.
meniscus tears, wrists. Man, just they catching
Well,
every kind
well,
of injury.
well. Let me ask you, Ace. I'm gonna throw it to you, and I'm gonna throw it to you, Smoke. We everybody knows how we feel about money, but what is there not to like about money? What have you guys heard from the other side where you're able to say, you know, all right. I mean, take yourself out, take your Chicago hat off, take your South Side hat off, and you grew up somewhere in, Podunk County, South, and Jordan was bending your team over every year. You know what I mean? Just dominating and running through your team. But
Right.
no, seriously, because Kobe turned out, he was mentoring them and Jordan was teaching them stuff. That's weird. But and a lot of that generation didn't like Jordan because based upon what that stuff Kobe was doing. But anyway, what is there not to like? I'll start with Ace and then I'll throw it to you, Smoke.
Well, what is there not to like about Michael Jeffrey Jordan? Yeah, I can't take my bias out of it. I mean, I don't like that his shoes are $200 now, based on seeing them before when they first came out, and they
That's
keep
if you
coming.
could find them.
Well,
It's a waiting list, but yeah.
yeah. Um, I, I, I don't know. Like you said, most of his charity work or his helping of the community has been behind the scenes. He's opened medical centers in North Carolina. I mean, he's the greatest basketball player I've ever seen. And I was around when Kareem was playing, and toward the end of his career, and Dr. J and Magic and Bird, and I didn't see Bill Russell back in the day, but it was a different league then. So it goes
Oh
back.
yeah, Kareem is on the Jordan haters list, and so is Julius Irving. But go ahead, Ace. I had to keep naming these people since y'all ain't gonna bring them up. Go ahead, Ace. Though keep going.
I wasn't aware that I would expect it out of Kareem, but I wasn't aware that Dr. J was on that list.
Oh, Dr. J is super butt hurt. Yeah, I'll send you some videos. But go ahead, bro.
He should be more than
I was shocked too. It hurt me. It was like finding out African Bambaataa allegedly.
touch
Did
little
you hear he
boys.
allegedly died? Uh, Joe Theismann? No. Hassan Campbell allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. I just did just hear that.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's been out, man. That's
yeah.
Yeah, but they still don't know. See, that's what like for me, bro. I was just on YouTube, and somehow I was like African Bambaataa. Somebody said
yeah.
something in the chat about it, and I'm like, what? You know what I mean? I'm like, what? So then I started researching it. But yeah, it's been out. It
It
has.
was,
It's been out.
His
Yeah,
name alone have messed up the whole Zulu nation.
yeah,
I mean
it was probably
that Zulu nation holds a lot of weight in New York, just like
yeah.
the 5%ers and
Like Black
everything.
Hebrews and stuff.
And
Yeah,
and
yeah,
his name alone done damage
yes.
that portion of the Zulu nation, man. They get a lot of bad flack because of him, because of what he was doing.
because it was
Crazy.
all probably known in New York, but with the information age now, it gets out to everywhere. I saw a commercial today with Ice-T and this guy from the Soul Sonic Force, and and no mention of African battle. So yeah, I heard his alleged taunts with guys and little boys and pedophilia. So.
But I mean, okay, I've heard that Mike he didn't marry a sister, and I'll be like, he did marry a sister.
Yeah,
Hell,
he met
Juanita,
a sister from the South Side in the town that he was from.
man, and made the babies with them, and she got the legacy money. She's straight.
Yeah, but everybody wants to go on the backstory and blame him for his backstory of who his quote unquote side pieces were back in that day. So
It's always off the court stuff. It's never on. And when they try to go, even when they try to go on the court, who's a big hater of Jordan? Perkins, Big Perkins, Kendrick Perkins, because he's such a LeBron nut holder, which is fine.
Oh,
That's
Kendrick Perkins.
Out there, Kendrick Perkins. Oh
Kendrick
my
Perkins.
goodness.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
Talk
Like
about him.
he's always on LeBron, which is fine. That's your guy. That's who you like. You came up in that era, played with him. That's who you like. But he goes at Mike, like when the last dance, he was like, oh, he was, how many of them was talking, oh, he's a snitch because he was talking about when the fools was getting high and stuff in the locker room.
Yeah.
Now, he never said no names.
Right.
He never said, he said he went in there and them dudes was getting high and stuff and he wasn't with it.
Yeah,
Now, I sat up there and seen Perk.
man, that's called leadership. He didn't snitch. If he snitched, he'd have called the police and got them arrested. See, people are taking this snitch word and they just using it all. No, ain't nobody snitch nothing. I'm not going to be in this organization, with these people. I'm the franchise. Y'all holding this against me. And this was, yes, you're right. I mean.
But then I hear Perk say, like not too long ago, he was talking about a guy who used to get drunk in their locker room or whatever. And I'm like, dude, but you was talking about Mike talking about how he was saying these guys.
But Perk think it's okay to do it years later. He's still snitching. Right. Yeah. That's the whole thing. That's what I'm saying.
And he was saying the guy's name too. I'm pretty sure he said the dude's name.
They've ruined the whole, they don't even know what it means to be a snitch, first of all. So this generation.
When they cross over to media, they perceive that it's not snitching, you're just reporting the story.
So somebody told Kendrick Perkins, listen, here's your role here. Sit down and shut up. This is how his interview went. You don't have a journalism degree. I don't believe you have any type of degree, anything. You can barely read or write. I don't even think you're literate. This is how his interview went. Shut up. They kicked his agent out. He said, but I'm going to get him out of here. And then this is how it went for him to get his job where he is now. You had very limited skills in the NBA. I mean, nobody cares about you. There was nothing that you did in the league that would draw anybody to the television set. So what you're going to do is just be a troll. You're just going to be a troll against your people, and you're going to troll Michael Jordan. That's your role here, and we're going to pay you 35% less. This is Kwame's mom's cooking talking. Big ups, Kwame. Right. And we're going to pay you 37% less than everybody else. But Diesel, I want to throw that question to you. You can comment on anything else. But what is there not to like about Michael Jeffrey Jordan? Come on.
So I let me try to see if I can be a devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So I can be on the other side.
For the sake of conversation. Just
and I used to have a lot of dudes when I was in the Nav, a lot of dudes from Detroit. And remember, this is like right at the time when that stuff's going on, when Detroit's still like on top, and then we popped them off in like 91. And but they never could really they could never really get on Mike. You know, they'd be like, oh, the rest of the Bulls ain't nothing. You know, they ain't nothing. You know, but they never could really get on Mike. And my whole thing is that you guys literally try to hurt him to beat him. And that's what never really got said. And I don't think it said enough in them documentaries, that your Jordan rules, they literally said, when he comes this way, we send him to the floor. We send him
trying to hurt him. That could be his career. You could have sent him to the hospital. Correct.
That's why he didn't care for them. He didn't care for putting them on that dream team. None of that stuff, because he felt you the leader of them, and you condoning it. You like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do whatever it takes to win. That's what they was on at all costs. But as far as his trying to think, what other haters did I hear them say stuff
about his game? They say he don't play the right way.
That's a lie. He was forced into that role. The players that you had, he didn't have a lot.
But they be trying to talk. But they be trying to talk like he had the right everything around.
No,
Jordan was gonna win with damn near anybody. People don't realize that's how Jordan was. He went to the Olympics. He won at Carolina. He won in high school. It was just gonna be a matter of time. Like, you couldn't be not practicing. You couldn't be doing drugs in the locker room. You know, it was a certain standard.
If you don't physically try to hurt him, they go to the finals a year early, maybe 2 years earlier.
If the league wasn't letting them get away with that,
yes, they definitely go to the finals a year earlier than what they did. And who was the starting guard?
Well, don't forget, they was giving that to Pippen and Grant. It wasn't just Jordan. It's just Jordan got it more because he was going to the hole more. But they was giving that same thing to Pippen and Grant. Remember, they was knocking Grant goggles off every play.
Now, the one thing I'll say is that if Oakley had stuck around, if they hadn't traded Chuck Oakley, and you still had him in the mix with Pippen,
right? They could have kept Grant. Yeah, they could have just renegotiated Oakley. They should have kept Oakley. Yeah.
Well, but they wanted to get a center, so they got Cartwright.
They had to have him in that deal, huh?
With that trip, with that triangle, and however they was running that, they had to have that post guy, because Oak wasn't really a post guy. Yeah. But if you could have kept him, and if you look at Oak's interviews, he says the Pistons wasn't doing that when I was there. They did that when I left. And I thought about it. And I was like,
we had thought about that. Yeah, Oak was the enforcer.
Like, he's right.
He was the enforcer. Everybody in the league. It was like hockey. Everybody had an enforcer back in the day. Yeah. Yes. There was a whole lot of stuff.
And they knew that Oakley was Jordan's protector. There's no way they would have got away with any of that crap.
Yeah,
correct. Correct. Now, they thought Cartwright was going to give him that, but Cartwright was more of a gentle thug, and he was older. You
had to push him. Cartwright had to be really pushed, and then he snapped. But that don't help.
Did Isaiah?
Sharp elbows.
Yeah, that don't help though when you going and your players getting knocked out and stuff throughout the games, and
he can only give you 8 minutes a game.
Yeah,
that ain't gonna help you. He only out here 8 minutes. Oakley was out there 30 thugging for 32 minutes, boy.
Hey, man, I came from HBCU.
Boy, you remember hockey used to have that goon, couldn't even play. That hockey, that goon could just skate. They'll send him out there, boy, and everybody in the crowd knew when the goon was out there.
Hey, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking this last week. If they asked an NBA player, and let's take Jordan, well, we gonna answer because he ain't on the panel. What year of him playing NBA ball? What year? Because it's really meant for the person though, for the player, but we ain't got it. What year would you take your what you feel was your best mental year playing, and then what year would you take your best physical year playing? I wish they'd ask players that who don't play no more to see what they would say, because then when you combine those two, then you figure you're at your peak level of what you could, how you could produce. I know for me,
it'd be about 19, 20 physically, probably 26, 27 mentally on the court. 26, 27. Anything after that,
what year is you talking about?
I'm just saying for me. You saying for them? I'm saying for me personally as a hooper. For
You
me
talking
personally,
about
You mean 80 something? What you talking about, Mills?
you talking about the
The
annual
two-
deal. You talking about age.
yeah, I'm talking about age. He's talking about.
No,
He's
I'm
talking.
talking about what year did it went? What was Jordan? 85 to what? Or 84 to like, let's say 80 to
98.
2000 or
It
98.
was over after 98.
So
Yeah.
what year would you take his physical?
I got you. I got you.
I would say 92.
I take that 91, that year that they beat the Lakers. I take 91 for his physical.
I'm gonna take that. Yeah, he scored. He averaged 37.
That would have
maybe,
been like
maybe next year.
89.
Maybe the next year after that. Yeah, so 90. I'm gonna say about 90. About 90. Yeah, so around the same time. Yeah, I'm gonna say the year after
Because
that.
it's like
That year,
I'm taking like right after he started doing the, because it took him 1 year when he
But
started
mentally,
doing that program to build up his body from them hacking him.
but mentally would be season 6, 98.
Yeah, the 90 when
Yeah.
they won 72. I take one of them.
Yeah, see,
one of
I
them
thought you were
years.
saying like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. 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 Let me ask y'all this though. Can you be black, super wealthy, and down? Because that seems to be the issue. And I heard Kwame talking about it, but this question was already down on this thing. I mean, I feel like in our community, bro, once somebody from Jay-Z to Nas to whoever it is,
It's a rare breed because it takes
well,
it
Denzel
takes-
Washington's down. He's down.
Muhammad
yes, he is.
Ali.
But
He
Ali
is.
used to be broke a lot. I don't even really want to throw him on that list because I don't think of him as filthy.
His wealth, it seemed like his
Restless.
wealth came when he was done.
It was always messed up. They always he had all them kids and the taxes. They was always messing with him. Court cases.
They broke him when they took the championship away, and he couldn't fight. He couldn't
Correct.
fight anywhere. So
Correct.
that's when he broke.
He missed them.
His
Them,
prime.
to me, them years when after he beat Liston, them was like his prime years that
But
he
okay.
couldn't even fight, man.
But
That
we
was
can
crazy.
throw Ali. We got to throw Ali on the list.
Who-
Oprah, Tyler Perry, Jay-Z.
No,
Jay-Z, no. What's his name?
no.
P. Diddy?
Oprah, no. Oprah,
P.
no.
Diddy, Russell Simmons.
No. Wait a minute. You're going saying too many too quick, man. No. Wait a minute. Let me
I
see.
hear a bunch of no's, dude. He's like, no.
No, because it's
I'm like,
it's
what's
a-
this no for?
it's a rare breed.
Ice Cube.
It's a rare breed because that the person within is usually they're still themselves for the most part. You know, they got to change a little bit.
I
because
see
you
what you're
can't-
saying. If they was
know what I
down
mean?
before they got the money, they should be down after they got the money.
Yeah, they don't.
Right,
Their personal
right.
self doesn't drift
If they was
too
down
far.
before they got the money, they should be down after they got the money. That's what you're saying. The person who's not down when they're rich was probably never down. That needs to be tested.
The person who say that
Right.
one more time.
The person who we don't consider as down for the community once they're super rich, we would have to say they were never. Is your theory is that they were never down? That even when they were poor, they were just like little Republicans
No.
running around the community.
No,
Hey, you guys need to
no,
put that away. Your kids need to, you know what I
no,
mean?
no. I don't mean that.
I'm going to
It
be
would
rich
mean
one
that-
day and I'm going to say, fuck all you kids. I mean,
No, it would mean that they, they allow their wealth to change them to the point where they're not down anymore. You could still be, you didn't even have to necessarily be poor to still be, to have the pulse of the community. You know what I mean? You didn't, we know people who weren't poor growing up, but they still had that pulse of
Correct.
the community. You know what I
Yes.
mean? So no,
Yeah.
they don't have to necessarily be that, but those people that like the names you were saying, I'm listening. I'm going, no.
Charles Barkley. I mean, unfortunately, I'm naming a lot of athletes, but I mean, we can go on and on.
Now I
We
will
can
say, I will
I
say
did name
this.
some business people. I did name some
Yeah.
business people. in
I
there.
will say
Okay.
this. Who did you say?
Akon, the singer.
Okay.
Man,
You don't believe in it?
I don't even think he's really
he
got that money.
he's just
He don't have that money.
He
Some of these
conflicts
people,
too much for me to have a pulse of the community
Yes.
like you would think that
Yes.
you would have. He
Yes.
goes in too many directions. He'll do
he's
something
backing a
outstanding,
Latina snitch.
and then he
He's-
goes and does crazy
He's
stuff.
backing
So,
a
no.
Latina. He's backing a Latina snitch.
Now I'll say
Snitch
this.
9
I'll
is a
say this.
Latina.
Now,
He's backing.
Now Tyler Perry, I can't really say because I am not aware of him prior to him becoming, famous, as we would call it. But as far as on the entertainment level and famous, there ain't too many Black people who's doing as much for Black folks in that industry as he is. He keeps, from the plays to that studio that he built out there, that's the center and everything.
I'm never gonna go against that. I mean, he's hired
But
my
I don't
wife.
know, like I say, I don't really know.
He's hired my
everything up
wife.
until-
Yeah, he's hired my wife. Can you hear me, Diesel, or are you just talking?
Yeah. No, I can hear you say he hired your wife, right?
Yeah, you just seem to keep talking because a while back I wanted to go into Snitch 9 and said something about Snitch 9 being a Latina, and you wanted to talk about Tyler Perry. I'm giving some good commentary here. Snitch 9, Tekashi. We were talking about that.
Akon's backing him, or is Akon just making money?
Akon was backing Snitch 9. That's where we were before you went off into this. I wanted to lay into that a little bit, bro, but and now it's all gone. But
go ahead, knock yourself out.
It's got to be natural. Now it looks like I'm cloud chasing. It's got to be natural. It came up in the conversation. He was talking about Akon. It would have been natural, but no. But I hear you, bro. I hear you, and I don't want to get into Snitch 9, but I know one thing. He's not selling those records, and that security. You notice you don't see him running around as much no more. Smoke G, Snitch 9.
They just got arrested for impersonating cops.
His security,
his whole security, like a couple of days ago. they went chasing after somebody that he had who he was getting into it with.
And identifying themselves as cops.
They was acting as cops, and the real cops came and hemmed them all up.
Yeah, because they could hit them with illegal detention. At this point, that's kidnapping and all.
They hemmed up his whole security.
Wow.
Because they was acting like they was cops. Yeah.
Stupid can you remain to be?
So now, you guys, this is why we're here. I've always got a narrative, and and I wish the other guys were here, the haters.
I see one chimed in on the chat, but
he won't come in. I told him it's open. But why do all our leaders get hated on? Why do all our quote unquote heroes end up with a media campaign against them at some point? I mean, I don't want to call R. Kelly a hero. I mean, he's a dastardly dude. I don't want to call O.J. Simpson a hero. I mean, he's a dastardly dude. I don't want to call Bill Cosby a hero. I mean, he's a dastardly dude. I mean, I don't want to call. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on. Can we go on and on? Michael Jackson a hero. He's a dastardly dude. I don't want to call Prince a hero. He's a son of a gun. Who else did you say?
Mike Tyson.
Yeah, we don't want to. Tupac Shakur, rest his soul. Mike Tyson is a dastardly dude. On and on and on and on. It was that football player, the quarterback, and So what I'm saying, Richard Sherman, graduate from Stanford. Just a little tiff with his wife at his own property. He didn't hurt anybody. So my question is this: why do all our leaders get hated on, or is that question even valid? What's to it? What is this media campaign all about? Is that what this is? Is it fair to say that that's what Jordan is being drugged under? The same campaign that drug Muhammad Ali, who was mentioned here today, and we can go on and on and on and on and on. Anybody?
Well, I believe that back in the heyday of the Klansmen, you could physically assassinate our leaders. Now, I believe they mentally thought that it does more damage to assassinate their characters and spread that around to the community.
Mm-hmm.
So we self-hate because we love to self-hate. So if we could self-hate and get them to hate all these so-called leaders
mm-hmm.
or leaders of the community, either being sports figures or political figures or entertainers, then that does more damage than just taking one out and making a martyr out of them.
Yeah, we drop. It's real tough because of the way I hate to see black leaders when they and man, it don't really even got to be black leaders, but you hate to see black folks talking and putting other black folks down and everything. But at the same time, when you see stuff that you got to address it and you want to call them out, so you don't want to be like trying to end people's careers and things of that nature, but you do got to address certain things that people do regardless of their color. Here's one thing that you could say about Mike from a devil's advocate point of view, if you can even say that, but again, it's something that's off the court. So take Tiger Woods, right? So him and Chuck Barkley, speaking of, they were famous for having him come to Vegas with them, hang out, introduced him to the Vegas game to start popping off with females and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one thing I've never heard, and Mike is probably the kind of guy, he'll never address it publicly. When you hear Tiger's father, when he was alive, speaking on Tiger, you knew that he had some pulse, his father did, to the community. You knew when you heard him talk and listen to his history and everything, he had some pulse. Even as far as away as it was getting, when you get into golf, it's hard to even keep a pulse if that's possible. But I never hear Mike and them talk about or try to address, especially when Tiger had those issues talking about
you and I had this conversation. I would agree with you, but there was one time, man, when Mike spoke, and I've never been able to find the footage.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was living in South Shore at that time. Me and Tori had that apartment. It was right around the time when Mike's dad had got killed, and he was doing a press conference. And Mike talked about, man, poverty. He talked about the struggle. He did, bro. And he went on for about 10 minutes, bro, in this press conference. And I've never, ever been able to find it since. And I've been looking, bro, and I've been looking and I've been looking. So it's in him. But you're right. You're right. I don't think that was part of his brain.
And I wasn't even speaking on him. I'm speaking on him, not speaking out for Tiger. When they were questioning him like about his blackness, and he came up with that term, calling himself a cannibal Asian. But the minute he got in trouble, you peel back, and it always happens. They peel back to the black because they know we'll have your back. Mm-hmm. But I never heard like Mike or anybody coming out in front and saying like, hey, let me tell you, this is blah, 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 blah. Or like on that documentary, the guy who was close to Tiger, especially the Tiger's father. And they said, well, what were some of those arguments? Who was close to Earl. And the guy on the documentary, when they said, well, what were some of those arguments about? Because Tiger and his dad was getting into it. I mean, super getting into it over different issues. And he says, I can't address that. He said, I know how far to go. I'm not going to tell you what they would be arguing about on it. And it's like a part of me knows that was part of them arguments heavy. Like, what is you doing? But I always wish Mike would come out.
But that's family business. I respect that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. But I always wanted Mike to say something publicly in regards to Tiger so we could kind of know. I mean, if you associating with him like that, made him like a kid brother and everything, showing him the ropes.
That was all a relationship through. That was all through Nike. That was just all. But what was you about to say? That was just that was all sham through Nike, man. They not even the same. They not even. The only thing they had in common was they was black and they was under the microscope.
Yeah. And the point that once Tiger had most of those incidents and he was coming out with, the apologies and his media spin on whatever happened, it wouldn't behoove another megastar like a Jordan to speak on it, because he was putting out the statement to end it, to make it die down. Once you, as Michael Jordan, come out and say whatever you're going to say, then that has to be dissected for a certain media cycle too. So that's probably why.
Yeah, but I just never heard him say anything to, usually your guys, even in those kind of cases, publicly, they'll come out and say something for you to have your back in that.
Well, I mean,
I never heard him say nothing.
What you're bringing up though is kind of what Scottie Pippen brings up about Mike. And Mike was out, boy. Mike was out, but Mike was Mike wasn't. Yeah, I know what you mean. Because even some of his, I remember his press conferences. He'd be talking about his supporting cast. All of a sudden, everybody became his supporting cast. He got pretty, I don't want to say neurotic, but it's another word I'm looking for. Self-absorbed. Yeah.
But they were a supporting cast. I don't give a damn. They were. If Scottie is,
bro, they were. Hey, sorry to cut you off, but yes, that's like Michelangelo talking. And Michelangelo is saying, yeah, my supporting cast. And you could be like, yeah, Michelangelo had the assistant. His assistant became, yeah, but his assistant wasn't Michael fucking Angelo, right? Right. Einstein had a supporting cast. Somebody on Einstein's supporting cast probably won a damn Nobel Prize. I guarantee you if you check it. You know what I mean? But it's a supporting cast. Yeah.
Because when
they are self-absorbed.
When it came down to it, even, and that's one of Pippen's current contentions, that Phil Jackson was racist because he didn't give that shot to
draw the play up for him. Yeah, draw it up for Kukoc.
Yeah, I mean, once Jordan was gone, you're gonna draw it up for the guy that's gonna hit the shot.
Man, listen, I'll be totally honest with you. Now, when Scottie said that statement, and then I looked at some of the examples, like when Phil was talking about when he was in LA calling the cliques posses and all that type of stuff. I was like, well, but you think about Scott, just think about Scottie's game. He wasn't that kind of player to be taking the last shot of the game.
Shoot. Exactly, the catch and shoot. It's not
his DNA.
Right,
and not that he can't score, but
the catch and shoot. Right.
It wasn't in his DNA, man.
Right.
If I had money and he took 10 of them shots,
was doubling them.
I'm a bet against him.
Mike could hit the shot on two people. Scottie wasn't. Right.
And Tony Kukoc was that kind of scorer that could hit that kind of shot more than Scottie could.
Over one person.
Yeah, because more than Scottie could.
Yes, but he had Scottie inbounding. I think that's what had Scottie pissed. He's like, man, I'm not even a decoy.
Yeah. He should have been on the court somewhere where they're gonna probably try to double team. Now that was extreme. That was extreme.
I think
because then you can look at the rest of the players and be like, well, who else gonna get the ball? If he inbounding, it ain't enough time to do nothing else.
Yeah.
So we can go get this dude. So you got to put him out there where they're gonna be like, all right, let's get him. So that was a little bit, crazy.
Yeah.
But
maybe Phil's philosophy was that if Scottie was the focal point as far as the leader of the team and he's taking the ball out, then like you said, who's gonna get the ball? So who do you double team? And you can't figure that out if the guy you're gonna double team is taking the ball out. So
right,
whoever he throws it into,
if I'm on the team, you go down the list. Who the scores?
Well, let's unpack the Phil racist thing. I just want to go here. I watched the interview, and it was dude was kind of putting words in Scottie's mouth. Scottie, but what Scottie was saying is that it was that old.
Back it up.
Well, he was saying that it was the old boy system, and there was a lot of stuff going on when I would be, Diesel. I'd be like, man, why are all these white boys on the damn court? Yeah, I mean, a lot of us will have a lot of times when we be like, why is this guy in the game? Put this guy in the game. Why are these people in the game? Well, you would question Summerfield. I'm just saying, look back on it all. I'm saying when you was young and you was, on the block and you was like, what's going on? It was a lot of that. Judd Bushler and all these people on the roster and these people getting all these minutes. And that's probably what Scotty was kind of heading towards when you look back on it in hindsight. And he came out to Cali and got with what's her name, Jeannie Bush or whatever. That's
Jeannie
all
Bush.
white. Everything about him is that liberal, far left. I smoke weed, tell you Negroes what books to read and who to vote for, but I might be racist too. That's what I think Scotty was saying. Like, y'all don't know this white man like I do. And he did make the posse comment. Go ahead, Ace. You were saying something?
I mean, there could be some validity to that, but Phil wasn't making a roster. Especially in Chicago, he had
nothing to do with the roster.
No authority with the roster. So he might have been putting those guys out there, in spite of what was going on.
What was the song that Common had back in the?
I think what
90s?
Pip is saying is it put blonde hair. My fault, Diesel. I throw it to you, but put blonde hair and blue eyes on Pippen, and who would they have drawn that play up for if Pippen had played with Jordan all that time? Go ahead, Diesel. I think that's what Pip is trying to say.
Remember the song Common had in the mid 90s, Resurrection, and it was like right after in the midst of the Bulls stuff. I think it was on Resurrection when he was like, "Don't watch the Bulls as much. They got too many white boys."
Yeah.
It was like right. It was like right on time at that point.
Yeah, and that whole system, the triangle and all of that, man, was some dog.
See, the triangle though, the triangle. Now, I don't knock a dude. If you can shoot, you can shoot. You can have a couple of shooters. However, you got to have post players. Now, I remember Phil. I remember specific times when they would interview Phil and he would talk about other players in the league that he was like, hey, I could see that guy. I would know how to use this guy because he would be thinking about them on the block, being able to throw the
they
triangle.
Were supposed to have a 5 who can pass, shoot, and dribble, but they would always have the total opposite of that. So
yeah.
But then and then they put a big white boy up there who was a bum and let him point the offense, and it was all racism. If you look back on it,
like somebody like, and you can look at this now. Luke Longley,
they could have found any black guy to do that.
He fit the triangle decent because he was a post player. Longley, he could post with his back. Will Purdue could not. Purdue could not. He could not. He wasn't no post at all. All they had him for 6 fouls and the rebound. That was
Luke
it.
Longley was a bump. You talking about
no,
Luke Longley?
Luke Longley wasn't
bouncing in here.
No, Luke Longley wasn't a good player, but he could be in the post on the block for the triangle. You could put him in. He used to do it at least for the first quarter anyway. He used to do it just like Cartwright. Same kind of thing. Back to the basket. You could throw that ball run the triangle through him. And you could do Jordan and Pippen the same way. They could both get on the block, run the triangle. Horace didn't really do it when he was not too much. He could, but he was a little too soft for that block.
Of course. He was lucky. He was on those first 2 championships. I think Bill Winnington was probably the perfect post player for the triangle, but he didn't have the stamina to get hold.
In the league, what we needed, the perfect.
He could face up more than he could. He reminded me of a Dave Corzine a little bit later.
The triangle wanted
they could jump.
The triangle wanted Dirk Nowitzki up there. That's what the triangle wanted.
Oh yeah. Yes. Put him down there.
Triangle desired.
Interchange him with that. Right. He can shoot from the outside.
Tony Kukoc.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
That's the
Tony Kukoc could have been up there. Yeah. Tony Kukoc could have been up there. What up with it, Tess?
What's going on, baby?
Hey, so.
Yes, what's up?
Hey, man.
What up?
Hey, well, we wrapping it up, but Tess, since you're here, here's the wrap-up question before they go on to their final thoughts. I'll start it out with Diesel. True or false? Michael Jeffrey Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time.
I'll say that I can't answer that. And you know why? because over the course of time, I've learned to take the time in which you played in. Now, as far as what I seen personally playing, I would say yes. However, I didn't see players in the 60s, the early 70s.
This is a true or false
Yeah,
question.
well, I'm telling you, I can't answer.
No, well, okay.
I say false if you're forcing me to. I'll say false, and then I'll tell you why, because I can't do it.
Well, you know, we don't want you justifying why you're gonna cop out. Ace, true or false? Michael Jeffrey Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time.
I would say it's true based on his physical, mental, and financial change of the game of basketball during his time. Go.
Cortez, true or false? Michael Jeffrey Jordan is the greatest.
You got to finish the question. True, and it's just that's what I saw. I might be a little biased, but he affected my whole life in Chicago.
I'm gonna say true beyond all of that, with the all first team, all defense, with the first team defense, with the defense players of the year, with the 2 gold medals, MVPs, with the MVPs on every court he stepped on. Anybody he played with, he was the best player. If he could have put him on anybody's team at any time, even today, and he's going to be the leading scorer. He's going to be the A-dog. So I think
no question.
Yes. So I'm gonna say a big T with a capital T, and I'm going to say to Smoke G, you need to slow down on some of that Stephen A. Smith, bro. They're getting into your psyche with that political.
Right, you said the best player.
Ass answer.
You said the best player ever. I said if you're saying what I seen, I said it would be him. But I'm not going to disrespect people that I never seen play from other eras. Okay, so let's take for example people who played in the ABA. We didn't see hardly.
We don't want to
those
hear.
dudes
It's true,
play.
false question. You made your point.
No, you start talking stuff, so you got to hear it now.
All right. We had plenty of time to do the Jordan hate. We're wrapping up the show here. We've been asking for reasons to hate all up and down for the last 2 hours, and now you want to sit here and close it out in your wrap up with why he's not the greatest player of all time. So we're gonna go with the guest final thoughts. We'll start with Cortez since he doesn't have his camera on.
Let me put it on for you.
Yeah. And we're going to get Cortez's final thoughts, and then we're going to throw it to Ace, and then we'll let Diesel close it out with his final thoughts. I'm interested in hearing Smoke G's final thoughts on the topic here.
My thought is only flack I give with Michael Jordan is just that it's political. I thought he could do a lot more politically, even with what he's doing now, being a billionaire in the industry and owning the team. He could do a lot more for, stop. He's almost like the Obama. He's just sitting back and gaining money.
Nas is doing it. Nas is doing it too. Go ahead, bro. It's a bunch of them.
He's scared to shake the rattle the cage of Black empowerment. So that's the only knock I have on MJ.
You saying he always stuffing his bag no matter what? He's consistent.
Consistent.
Hey, you can't knock a man for stuffing his bag.
He even invests in prisons.
Hey, I said it, man. I said we're changing the lexicon. I said that when we started the self-love show. We need to build our own prisons, though, and imprison our own people. Would you rather have a
black man owning the prisons or
correct?
Or these dudes?
But I don't think he's owning it for the rehab business. He's owning it for the money aspect.
Yeah, but maybe
eventually that's business. If it's business.
He's what do you call that? He's on the board now, so now he can vote and he can tell them to feed people better food and stuff like that. He's at the table. Ace, what you got, Ace? What you got on final word on this topic, bro?
Well, I mean, as far as the love and the hate, Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time on the court. People want to throw that to how many points people had or how many championships people had. But as far as changing and improving the game, And a GOAT would be a person that leaves the game in a much better place than when they received it. So I believe he did that. You can point to his social, economic points of view, his political points of view, but once you get at the ownership table, which he is in basketball and certain business aspects with Nike and other corporations, things change. So you're not a regular guy anymore. And he might have said Republicans buy shoes, but Green Party people buy shoes, and he's stuffing his bag, and he's responsible to other people that have to stuff their bag based on his name. So
ask me that in my place of business and watch what I say. Go ahead, though, bro.
So he's got a responsibility to Michael Jordan first and foremost. So, if that means not making political statements one way or the other for the community, sometimes people make political statements and don't back it up. Maybe, he doesn't, if he doesn't make the political statements, but he backs, the agenda, which one do you want? So that's my final statement.
And we're gonna throw it to Smoke G.
If I would have knew I was coming on here, I would have brought more facts of what he's done while he's moved silent but deadly. Because again, what he's done in the last 10 years, I doubt if it's a Black person that's contributed more money to causes than what he had.
Facts.
And he don't get credit for it because he moves quiet. He's not like, you can only be what your personality is. That's all you can be. I wouldn't want him to be something that was fake or pretend. You want a person to be who they are. And do I think he might be somewhat different if his dad was still alive or lived a lot more years? Absolutely. The same way I feel Tiger would be different if his dad had lived a lot more years, because that influence was super strong.
Great point.
And Kanye West.
Great point with his
absolutely,
mom.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think
elder guidance.
Yes. That being said, his book's still being written to me. Mike's still, because what he's done in the past 10 years has flipped my way of seeing him, what I perceived him as before. And seeing some of these things where he's opened up and talked more to the public, where things we didn't know, things we hadn't known, and now we get access to that. So his book is still being written, and as far as I'm concerned, when you put Ali up on one of them greatest pitches with different people, who affect our well-being and going forward, he's got to be right there, and he's making it where you're getting to see what he's been doing outside of the court, which is the only thing that people ever try to attack him on, because they can't really get him on the court.
Right.
Man. And then I'm gonna say, well said, bro. Mine is short, man, and sweet. Colin Kaepernick, stood up for social change and social justice, and so is LeBron, and people told them to shut up and dribble and shut up and throw the football, and what's your next plan and what's your next step, and as you just said, one of you brothers, I believe it was Smoke G, it'd be disingenuous for him to be who he is not. I mean, if that's not his role, that's not his role. But if he can write checks and show up and influence some change, it's up for the other people, to the social changers, to the Cortez Scotts, the people who are out here doing the work, who are out here, with the degrees, to be able to take that money and implement some of the things that he's trying to do. And then lastly, on the political side, I can agree. Maybe he could wield his influence politically, but I would say that he probably doesn't agree. It's a good chance he's probably not a Democrat. Does that make him a bad person? Does that make him not Black? I mean, there's a good chance he's not a Democrat. So then
I would say he's an independent.
Correct. And then how would y'all feel about him then if he came out and said everybody should be independent, and if he was saying that when everybody was Democrat, and then that's hurting his business. And so, it's that's why people don't discuss politics, especially business people, because it can hurt your business. And he is trying to feed his kids and his family. So
But with
that's
great risk come great reward.
great responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
You can give him, you can say this too. He's only got what? Kids with 2 women. That's it, right? 3
That's what I'm saying. As far as I know, yeah. And I wanted to add that for anybody who thinks he's just this cornball goofy and never came across him, y'all got Michael Jordan's personal persona twisted from how you would meet that man if you saw him at Harold's, on 87th and Cottage or what have you, and how he would talk to you and things of this nature. Y'all got that man twisted. And I think if we as black men actually sat down and kicked it with Michael Jordan for one night, you'd have a whole different respect and understanding from where he's coming from. And many of us, 3 out of 4 of us, if not 4 out of 4 of us, would probably be moving the exact same way he is, given the same set of circumstances.
Absolutely.
Man, given the same set of circumstances. I mean, he hasn't cooned himself.
Yeah.
Right? No. You
No,
don't hear him come out there and say, all lives matter and, and free, Derek Chauvin. You know what I'm trying to say? You don't hear coonery coming from the man.
Now he does make statements when they do, when we hear these different events against black folks and stuff. He'll make statements that just don't get a lot of press.
Correct.
At all.
But everything LeBron says gets all over the media, and because LeBron has a team.
And he's still playing. The public can still see him.
And they got a team, like these billionaires be having teams to make themselves look good, their personal persona, their image. And I think Jordan don't pay for that. I think he don't pay for that, people to make him look good.
No, he don't have to. His brand sells itself. I mean, I would have never thought that his shoes, they're probably bought by more Hispanic people than black folks now, man. Do you know how much Hispanics crave Jordans?
Tez,
oh my God.
Tez, you remember how he sold them Chevys? He said, I don't beat them, I'll rock them. And he wasn't saying that like no cornball, boy. That's what I knew. Hey, you can say whatever you want about Mike. Once he was like, I don't beat him, I'll rock him. When I saw that commercial, I was like, okay, yeah, he's one of us, and he'll always be one of us. Yeah.
He shot the ball in the sunroof, like.
Wasn't it with
didn't he?
The net
like,
on the rim was
be
chains on the rim, wasn't it? Like a chain net?
Yeah, but you gotta remember that's a different era. LeBron and with all this social media, Twitter, and all this other.
You gotta
Facebook
control. You gotta control what's out there about your brand. Yeah.
He in a different era than Michael Jordan with all this media. Is crazy right now.
But still, you know what? You don't see anybody. We have yet to see another person come in, make a shoe under any brand, and Kanye don't count. But
I was gonna say Yeezy.
He don't count because
Yeezy, boy. They keep hating on Yeezy.
County, baby.
Speaking of Michelangelo, baby, he's a genius in supporting cast. Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
But no athletes, mainly basketball players, how you seen them come in, put out a shoe,
and it stands after they stop playing.
And they keep every year people are looking for, hey,
that's true.
Oh, that's them new so-and-so.
I think Kobe's after his death, those are gonna stand because of the way he died and all of that.
A little bit.
They're gonna stand, bro.
A little bit. Before he got hurt, the D Roses was kind of trending that way. People used to be like, "Hey, those them new D Roses. That's the new D Roses."
But that's the Chicago influence.
Yeah,
we did the same thing with those Jordans and all that. That's that shot time with house music. See,
what about them original?
Yeah, I saw Magic put out a picture today where he was on vacation in Saint-Tropez, and he's in Saint-Tropez with his family, but he was at this store and he was buying the latest, hottest Jordan. Him, his son and his grandson. all the way in Saint-Tropez.
Oh yeah, they Nike. I mean, most of them things are made in Vietnam, and they factory in Vietnam. They was just talking about it the other day.
Oh yeah,
with,
no sweatshops. Yeah, they
yeah,
got people slaving over there, boy.
they were
But at
saying
least the people
something
got
happened over
jobs.
there. Yeah, but most of them is made in Vietnam.
Somebody told that white man, you know, if you go to another country and pay people 25 cents a day, it's not slavery. Really?
They're only making 5 cents right now.
Really?
I could quadruple their salary. I think I'll do it.
Hey,
Viva la Jordan.
Hey, next week on Mouthpiece Included, hey y'all, we're gonna unpack Richard Sherm, man.
Have you done one? Have you done one yet on these athletes with all these babies who got like all these multiple babies? Have you did one of those yet? No,
we ain't done that. But if we do it, it's gonna be all the white ones.
Yeah.
No, we don't do that on TATN, man. We don't do too much of that, man. We don't do that, man. It's
but
enough.
you're gonna do Sherm, huh? Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do Sherm because see, Sherm is from Stanford. We're gonna unpack Sherm. We're gonna unpack why this small. I'm glad you asked. Why this minor incident is being pumped all through the media in a major way. That's what we're unpacking. What really happened? Did he put hands on his wife? She's showing up to court with him. Why won't they just throw it out? Why won't they just throw it out at this point? You see what I'm saying?
So why don't you compare it to old boy who's the pitcher for you guys out there?
Correct.
Your Dodgers.
Yes.
What's his name?
The pink man.
Bauer.
Yes.
Trevor Bauer.
Correct.
That stuff he got stemming, it sure has died down, ain't it? Man.
Of course. But that's the angle we take over here at TATN, bro. Because, you know, if you switch on ESPN, you can get that all day long. So what we're doing is we want to ask why? Why? Because we know they've been after Richard Sherman his entire career. He's been outspoken. He's been vocal like we want Michael Jordan to be. He has.
Players Union.
Yeah. But when the white man goes after these people, Ace, we don't back ours up. And then we wonder why people don't speak out on our behalf. Because then when they later go after us, we don't stand up and back each other up. So that's what we on, man. So next week, y'all, make sure when you show up here, and we appreciate the Silverbacks in the building today. So y'all make sure when you show up, as always, guard your grill, knuckle up, and y'all guys gotta get some mouthpieces, man.
I got
and don't forget to.
Oh man,
You got one, Ace?
I'm coming back from Miami. I got to put it up.
And don't forget to bring. And don't forget to bring your mouthpiece.